Hello, everybody. It's me, Ross, and welcome back to another edition of the Kings of Anglia Fan Social. This week, I'm joined by Chris Peachy Peach, Matt Makin, and good old Liam from Crew as we discuss all things town ahead of the final game of the season at Portman Road against Charlton. We've got a lot of things to discuss, so we're not going to muck about. Let's get right into introducing the men that are joining me. First up is good old Chris Peachy Peach. Chris, how are you doing, my friend? And if you're watching on video, he has a lovely backdrop. He's wearing a lovely orange number. He's got another Norwich. Whoa. Orange number. Well, I go with this. Orange number behind him. Peachy, how are you doing, my friend?
Living the dream, as always. Finished work for the week now, so I got 4 days off. Third appearance on the Kings of Anglia Social. Looking forward to a nice discussion with you, fine gentlemen.
Indeed, and I put myself in the mud there a little bit, saying a team we shouldn't name. Hopefully, I stopped myself before I said the whole shebang. But hopefully, everyone forgives me listening. Hopefully, you guys forgive me as well. The next man that is joining us is good old Matt Makin, and I said to him prior recording, we're going to have a nice little feature straight away to talk about Turnstile Blues because it is the last one of the season that is going to be sold on Saturday. But Matt, how are you doing, my friend? And plug what's in this editions of Turnstile Blues.
Thank you very much for having me on, Ross, and much appreciated for the opportunity to give TB a plug. So, third and final issue of the season coming out on sale outside the ground from 11 o'clock. Hopefully, we might have some copies in the Greyhound for anybody who's venturing there at breakfast just before we set off to Portman Road. So, I've purposely chosen the shirt hanging up behind me. Obviously, if those of you that have seen the cover trail on our Twitter, we've got an interview with Jason Dezell talking about the 91-92 Division 2 title winning season. We've also got some bits and bobs in there just about why that season's remembered so fondly by those that can remember it. We've got some bits, obviously some more current stuff there. We've looked back at the first year of Game Changer. There's a nice piece that will lead into a bit of a conversation later, and I'm going to try and pronounce this right because the Hutch has corrected us. Sone Aluko now. We've got a piece on him, and also obviously, today being the day, we've also marked the 60th anniversary of being champions of England with a piece around Jimmy Ledbetter. As usual, only £1 on sale outside the ground from 11 o'clock. Once they're gone, they're gone. Anybody who can't make it to the game, if you check out our Twitter, there was an eBay link gone up today. There's a limited number of them available online, but that is a limited number. So if you're not able to make the game, check it out there. But otherwise, we'll be in all the usual places near the three statues. And one of us should be floating around outside the fan zone entrance as well. So come on down, come say hello, pick up a copy of Turnstile Blues.
Boom! What a brilliant plug. Go and buy it. Why not? Bit of stuff for you to read for the rest of the summer as well before going into next season. But pleasure to have you on the show as ever, Matt. The final man that is joining us this week is good old Liam from Crew, who went back to his home land of Crew on Saturday, seeing us draw there for the final away game of the season. But how are you doing, my friend?
I wanted to ask you a question. What do you do with all the edits? Because you could make a very good gaff reel, end of season gaff reel if you've kept a lot of that content. That might be something you could do over the summer.
Yeah, to be fair, there's a lot of that. Every video pretty much I do is probably a blooper in there, but it's hard to store it and remember to store it. As you know, I'm very I'm not very organised gentleman. So, but maybe next season we can every game just remind me to store it somewhere, and we could hopefully have a nice, good old show reel because it would be crazy. That would be. But thanks for that question, Liam. Anything else you want to add? Part of your intro, or shall we get right into our first debate feature of the episode?
No, I'm fine. Fine. Yeah, all good.
Sounds good to me. Let's get cracking then. Now, the big talking point for the last few weeks has been about strikers. And, realistically, there's a striker out there that would love to sign. That will be a key position Kieran McKenna will be looking at. So I've told the gentleman before recording, let them have a little think, do some research on what striker they would like realistically Town to sign this summer. So, Chris Peachy, take it away. You said you got a few. But let us know who they are.
Yeah, well, I think I narrowed it down to 4. So my 4 are George Hurst or Hist. He's on Leicester's books, but he's on a loan at Portsmouth this season. 45 appearances, 14 goals, 4 assists. My second one's Ryan Hardy of Plymouth. 38 appearances, 16 goals, 4 assists. I think the one everyone would like, but is he a one-season wonder in my opinion, is Cole Stockton. 44 appearances, 23 goals and 4 assists. And my other one is Sam Smith of Cambridge United. 19 goals and 1 assist. Out of all 4 of them, I think realistically it'll be George Hurst or Sam Smith, but I will go with George Hurst. 23, still learning his trade. McKenna is, I think he's going to be very good with potentially younger players, improving them. I say he scored 14, and that's in all competitions. And I remember when he played against us, he's a big lad, so he can still fill out a bit. But I still think we're going to need more than different types of strikers. Hence, like with Sam Smith, he's a bit smaller, a bit more nippier. But I think he has played a bit of a number 10 role for Cambridge this season. And he's only 24 as well. So I think Stockton, he'll go to Championship, like someone like maybe Preston. And I think with Ryan Hardy, it depends on Plymouth if they obviously get the playoffs and go up, or if he wants to stay there because they are potentially building someone like us. But yeah, they are my 4, but I'll say George Hurst would be my top target personally.
I think that's a good list. And George Hurst, I'm looking up, he's on loan course currently at Portsmouth from Leicester City, and he's 23, and he's probably thinking, is he ever going to play for Leicester? It seems like it's not going to happen because Leicester have got they're in Europe at the moment. And is it going to be a permanent sign? Will he be signing on loan? Because that would be another thing. I'm sure Kieran McKenna will be looking at loans, but surely permanent players as well. So is George Hurst, is that a permanent signing or will it be a loan signing?
Oh, I think permanent, because then he's at that age of his career now where he might want to try and find a club with a 3-year deal where he thinks I can, settle somewhere, set an area, and try and improve. I think when players go out on loan, they haven't got that security of thinking, right, where am I going to be next year? Am I going to break into potential first team of Leicester, or am I going to just be another loan to another club? Perhaps sometimes players want to settle down and I think that helps personally.
I think so too, definitely. So there you go. That's Peach's list. Let's go on to you then, Matty boy. Who are you got on your list for strikers?
I'll pick Gazumped. I should have gone first because I've got 3, but 3 out of the 4 that Chris has just said. So I mean, the obvious one is Cole Stockton. Really, he's the hot property at the moment at this level. George Hurst is probably one that's only sort of come onto my radar recently through sort of chats and some sort of tenuous links on Twitter. So obviously, I don't know a huge amount about him so far, but again, possibly a hot prospect. And there's a very petty little part of me that would like to gazump Portsmouth if they're going to try and sign him permanently as well. Because not that I'm still bitter about the home game, anything like that. And then Hardy was the third one for me at Plymouth. I've got Plymouth links in the family. My family's from down that way originally, so I've got some Janners in the family. And I know my uncle's up visiting recently, and he's about hard. But again, Chris makes a very good point. Plymouth seems to be building something. Obviously, they're potentially going to be going into the playoffs. And if they don't go up, does he want to stay on for the project? It was a difficult one to pick one out because I think we're all still working on the presumption that the system we're playing at the moment is what McKenna is going to want to play. And is that his preferred style, or has he just sort of been playing to the? And I think Stu said it on the pod earlier today. Has he been playing to the best attributes in the squad or not? So it's hard to know what kind of striker McKenna's gonna want. So yeah, but those definitely. I mean, gun to my head, it is again. It's probably Cole Stockton for me.
I want to continue talking to you, Matt, about Cole Stockton because, obviously this year he's been fantastic for Morecambe. He scored some absolute worldies as well. Mm-hmm. This is his first season in League One. He scored 17 goals in all competitions. He scored 13 goals last year as Morecambe got promoted. Some people will be worried it's a one-season wonder. Can he really make that step up for a team? Because, he could be a sort of similar signing to, say, Joe Piggott. Joe Piggott was playing for a struggling Wimbledon side. Of course, Stockton's playing for a struggling Morecambe side who are still trying to fight to stay in League One. So some fans would go, yeah, he's been scoring goals, he's proven goal scorer in League One, but is he that right man to lead us to the playoffs?
It's an interesting one, isn't it? If Paul Cook was still here, I would say maybe not, but I think Kieran McKennan's the sort of coach that might be able to get the best out of him and further his game. He's still quite, I can't remember how old he is now, but he's obviously still quite young. And I think,
28.
I don't know. Who am I thinking? I'm thinking of George Hurst. Yeah, okay, so it's not that
He
yet.
just turned 28, so he's just hitting his,
Yeah. Well, it's old for you, isn't it? But
still my catching range. He's still good enough for me.
Absolutely, but I mean, I think McKenna's the right sort of coach to get sort of more out of him and say, okay, this is what you've achieved so far, and this we're going to sort of take you on to the next stage of your career. But I mean, to be honest, it's nice to have a choice out there really at the moment, and I think whoever we target, we are still probably an attractive option at this level, certainly.
Definitely. I mean, he's very similar mold to James Norwood. James Norwood sort of has done the same route as Cole Stockton. He basically fired a team to League One. Of course, James Norwood came to us and he's done what he has done. But yeah, Cole Stockton, definitely a player that I'm sure will be on a lot of teams' list. And I think Peachy's got a good one there in terms of Preston. I think Preston will definitely be looking at him because they're up there in Lancashire. So there we go then. Liam, over to you. The floor is yours. Are you on the same wavelengths as the boys in terms of strikers, or have you got some other strikers up your sleeve?
I've got two completely different ones. So I would say that they both have to be fees. So that could be the down mark against them, depending on how much we'd have to pay. But one of them is Johnson Clark Harris from Peterborough, because Peterborough are getting relegated, and how much further can he go with them? That's the thing. He has scored 11 goals in 38 appearances in the Championship this season. So, I mean, it's not brilliant, but he has hit a little bit of vein of form recently. But overall, he's got 43 in 83 appearances for Peterborough. And obviously the season that they got promoted, that we all remember because we got absolutely destroyed at Portman Road, he scored over 30 goals that season in League One. So he is a proven striker at this level. I think the biggest issue against him might be attitude, which might be something that we'd have to wait and see on. But he's certainly a proven striker, and I think at this level, it would be worth the investment. It just depends how much Peterborough would be willing to listen to, I guess, how much they would want to listen to Ipswich, how much they're going to put forward. The other one is a bit left field, is coming from my Scottish side. Beep, 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 beep.
Yeah.
Is Kevin Nisbet from Hibernian. Now, whether that is feasible or not, I have no idea. But he is a very good striker. He's scored a lot of goals in all the clubs that he's been at. Okay, some of them have been in the lower leagues of Scotland, and it's not the highest quality. But it's been a pretty remarkable rise for him. So he's still pretty young, and he's recently been put into the Scotland national team. So he is an internationalist. So that's probably one side that could be an issue for him. That would he get international call-ups, regardless of it being Ipswich, from League One in England compared to being in the Premiership in Scotland? I don't know if that would cut his chances there. And he's had an injury at the moment, which has kept him out for most of the second half of the season. But he is a fairly young player who's got a lot more to give, and he will end up in England at some point. He will move on. I imagine he will. Whether that's through the old firm, which sometimes is the way, or whether he'll come straight down to England. I'm not sure, but he probably will end up at England at some point. So he's certainly a player that would score a lot of goals at League One level. And then I just did a bit of digging at players who, because obviously we need a main striker, but we also potentially are going to have at least one more come in the door. So I was having a look at all the out of contracts that potentially are going to be around this summer, and mixture of a few Championship and a few League One. One of them, Sam Vokes. Now, whether his age would not be something that McKenna would go for, but he is experienced and scoring goals for Wickham at the moment, so it could be someone to have in the squad to help us get out of League One.
Right. He's 32. He's 32.
Yeah.
No, he's no. It's fine.
Youngin.
There's that Michael Smith of Rotherham, who we were talking about a few weeks ago, about the amount of goals he scored. He's going to be out of contract now. Whether Rotherham would tie him up if they do finally get promoted this weekend, but he's another one. Just a little funny one. A certain David McGoldrick is out of contract at Sheffield United at the end of the season. A little homecoming. That's just a cheeky one. That there are a number of players: Connor Washington, Callum Patterson. Whether they would be the sort of players we would look for, I don't know. But some of them might add a bit of value, a bit of experience, as maybe a second or third choice in the squad and something a bit different. And there was just one other name that I had, which wasn't a striker, but interested me. But obviously, we're going to be looking potentially for another midfielder. And Joe Allen is out of contract at Stoke City at the end of the season. And that could he drop to League One? He's getting on a little bit now. Maybe drop to League One, be part of the project at Ipswich, bit like his Welsh counterpart who went off to Portsmouth that we were chasing last summer, and I can't remember his name now.
Morel, was it? Morel?
Yeah, Joe Morel.
Yeah, that's it. So it could be that he might be quite a decent midfielder to add in the summer on a free contract. But again, it's just a suggestion.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be many podcasts, many features that we'll do ahead of the summer transfer window. I'm sure there'll be loads of different names getting chucked out, and we'll mention many players out of contracts. I'm sure that will be still a market that we'll be looking into, because I know we've got money now and we've got the new owners backing us, but I'm sure they'll still look at those markets. And I'm sure Mark Ashton has got his dashboards highlighting different players, and I'm sure there's many strikers on Kieran McKenna's list of players he wants to bring in, and I'm sure we'll bring you many videos and content throughout that. But there we go. The strikers debate, striker talk starts here. I'm sure many other debates are going to be going throughout the summer. But let's talk about one man that is going to stay here for another season. That is good old Sone Aluko, or Sone Aluko, whatever you want to call him what you want. But he's going to be here for another year. Basically, his contract's been triggered after the amount of appearances he's made. I want to go round the table, round the room, round our internet chat, whatever you're going to call it, and get their thoughts on it. So, Chris, over to you. Sone Aluko for another season. Where were you in terms of before this got triggered? Were you happy for us to take the option, or were you going goodbye, Sonny?
Oh, 100%. I think I said a couple of times on game day, keep him, because his experience is invaluable, in my opinion. I'll say he's played, I think it's on 30 odd games, 3 goals, but it's his others, like his control on the ball is brilliant. Like he gets the ball like in centre mid, he never loses it. I mean, I think when I've watched him, he's had one bad game, and that was when he was unfit against Newport County. So, and he's obviously, I think I said in the main pod, he's not going to play as much. He's not going to be a regular starter, but to have him in around the squad and his experience, and I think he's handy to bring on. Like I remember when he started at Cambridge away this year, a lot of fans are going, "Oh, why are they starting Sone Aluko? He's useless." Bangs in 2. And like, I must admit, when we first signed him as a free, I thought he'll be a bit part player, but he's actually been a valuable member of the squad, in my opinion. One of his best games, I thought, was Sunderland at home. He played really well. He was untouchable. And I'm Gillingham away. And I know people say he's got no assists, but he's got what people call the pre-assists, which I'm not a fan of, I'll be honest. But he does dictate play well. And one person who's very happy is my wife, because she, for what a fan of Matt Holland I am, that's nothing compared to a fan of Sone Aluko or Sone Aluko that she is. But overall, I'm really happy that he's staying because I think he's a brilliant player.
There we go. He's only been here for a season and he's already got a big fan club. It's great. Of course, a lot of people chanting his name. And yeah, as you said, I think his experience is very valuable. And of course, there are some people who will mention like, oh, you know, he's stopping the growth of some of our younger players. He is 32, 33 now. But I think what this team needs is experience of getting out of this division. And I think it was a good idea that it was triggered because of the appearances made. But you know, I'm sure he won't start every week. He'll come here and there, everywhere. I'm sure he'll start some games, come off the bench in other games. But no, well said, Chris. Over to you then, Matt. Where are you in this debate on Sone Aluko going to be here for another season?
I'm really happy with it, to be honest, Ross. Same as Chris, I was saying beforehand, let's keep him because, I mean, even if he doesn't play a massive amount of football, I think what he contributes off the pitch and in the dressing room will really be invaluable for the team. Kieran McKenna spoke quite highly of him in terms of sort of his demeanour, his manners, or his professionalism, you know, and that kind of example there for the younger players is invaluable, really. And like Chris said, I mean, yeah, you look at sort of the cold hard stats, and yeah, it's 3 goals, you know, and that's it. But it is so much more about what else he does, and it's those things that aren't necessarily captured in metrics in football, and the control and the way he distributes stuff. And I mean, Cambridge. I was there at Cambridge away, and he was absolutely brilliant in that game, and he has been. And like I said, the way he can sort of pick the ball out of the air and control it and recycle it and distribute it. Yeah, I think another year. What's not to like about it, really? He's an infectious character as well. You just want to see him do well, you know. He obviously loves it here. He's become a fan favourite very, very quickly, and that's especially after. I mean, I didn't go to that Newport game, but from all accounts, he was rustier than an old Cortina. But he'd had no real pre-season to speak of when you look back on it, and where he's come on since then. Yeah, I think just having him around the club, and if he's going to use that as an opportunity to sort of move into a coaching pathway as well, that's probably really good for him as well, because to work under somebody like Kieran McKenna at this point is not a bad thing, really.
Definitely. And Liam, over to you then. Your final say on this. It's not guaranteed he's going to play week in, week out. But Sone Aluko for another season, what are you saying?
I say everything that the boys have said. I think overall, I think it's about characters, and he has the right character that McKenna likes. He's an experienced pro, someone that I think he can trust in the dressing room. And look, his ability on the ball is still brilliant. I mean, he had some players. He had that ball on the string part of the times he's played this season. He has completely gone against, I think, what most people thought, especially after that early start against Newport, when everyone wondered exactly what was the point in signing him, and then he backed it up by being very, very rusty. But he's actually turned out to be probably the most pleasantly surprising positive of the season in the way that he's been this season. And okay, he may not have massive numbers back it up, but remember, he's in a rotational. He hasn't played all the matches this season. He's in a very competitive area of the pitch where he's got 2 much younger players in Selina and Chaplin fighting for those number 10 spots. And he is and he'll be the same again next season. He'll be on a rotational, maybe even more so, and less game time. But I think overall, McKenna sees him as someone who's going to be good for the dressing room, and he can use that experience. And it wouldn't surprise me, potentially, if there isn't maybe some kind of coaching side to this, that maybe Aluko might be helping out a little bit behind the scenes, maybe with some of the younger age groups, because I think he's a very looks like a very nice bloke, and I think he's a very good person to have around.
Indeed. Well said, my friend. Well, let's have a little pause here and give a shout out to our sponsors at manscaped.com. Of course, use the code KOA to get 20% off and free delivery. And talk about silly stuff. It's time for the strike. Let's get into it then. Chris, Matt, and Liam go face to face to see who's going to be crowned champion this week. Let's get cracking then. 4 questions, a tiebreaker if needed. We will use the tiebreaker because you got to, haven't you? You got to. And who's going to gamble this week if they're in front and they fancy basically taking their lead away on just one stupid, silly question? So then, boys, are you ready to go? Let's do this. Okay, question number 1 is on the game against Charlton. Now, how many times have Town won against Charlton at home in 27 games? 27 games. At Portman Road, how many times have we beaten them? Of course, we're playing Charlton. We've got both teams have got nothing to play for. I think it's the battle for 10th for Town to finish, and Charlton are, I think, going to be finishing 12th. Okay, then.
Playing 7-a-side with the Charlton fan earlier, and we described it as the deadest of dead rubbers.
Yes, that is the word for it. The amount of times I said that on Saturday for the Crew game, but this is probably deadest of dead rubbers, as you said. But there we go. Okay, then, boys. Show me what you're going for. Once again, if the closest to the correct answer gets 2 points. If you get closest to it, you get a point. Let's see what you're saying.
I'll go for 16.
Oh, I've gone 16.
I've gone 14.
Okay, then. Let's see. The correct answer is 12.
Oh.
12 points. So Matt makes it 1-0. What's up, Liam?
Excellent.
Did you...
That scribble there is 12, and I scribbled it out and went, no, you know what? I went 16.
I've already exceeded my best ever score of 0 on the strike, so I'm happy now. Everything from here is just luxury.
Yes, my friend. Good start from you. Okay, then. Question 2 is on a man that could have been, and that is Scott Fraser. He's only played 9 times for Charlton, but it's because he's had COVID and he's also now injured. We won't see him. Most likely, won't see him on Saturday. But yeah, who set up Scott Fraser for his debut goal against Morecambe? Was it Chaplin, KVY, or Wesley Burns? Of course, remember, it just out of nowhere, it just decided to rain, and I remember just capturing pictures of just loads of rain when he scored and celebrated. Okay, what's Liam gone for? Chaplin.
I've gone for Chaplin too.
I've gone for Burns, and I've got a feeling I might be wrong now.
Yeah, sad to say, Matt, you are wrong. It is Connor Chaplin, so it is a 1-1-1. All of you are now all square. Oh, this is gonna be interesting. Okay, question 3 is on Charlton and also Darren Bent. Yes, of course. How much did Charlton pay Town for Darren Bent in 2005? Was it 1.5 million, 2.5 million, or 3.5 million? And Chris looks very confident. He's straight away on his paper. Before even the question got... When I mentioned Darren Bent, it was like, oh, what's he going with this? And then boom. So you better get the spot on, mate.
I hope
if
so.
Not,
if not, right, yeah.
Yeah.
I've gone for 2.5 million.
Same here.
2.5 million. Okay. It is 2.5 million. So Chris and Matt have taken the lead. It's 2-2-1. But Liam, it's fine. We have a question 4 here. And you could get an opportunity here to basically square it all up, and we'll need the massive tiebreaker. So, as Matt said earlier in the episode, it is 60 years today. We're recording Thursday night that Town became champions of England. Now, how many goals did Ray Crawford score in the league that season? How many goals did he score in the leagues? Now, this is just the league, so it's not all competition, just league games. because of course he did score a few more, I think, in cup games as well. But yes, so 2 points for the spot on answer, 1 point for the closest to the correct answer. So if Liam gets it closest, he then gets the draw with all of you, and then we'll go to the tiebreaker. But if Chris or Matt get it right, then they win overall.
28.
28.
31.
31.
26.
Oh my God. Well, no one's got bang on, but we are going to need a tiebreaker because it's 33. So Liam, we're taking to a tiebreaker. All my days. Chris Peachy, Matt Makin, Liam from Crew, battling out on the final tiebreaker. And this man celebrates his birthday on the 29th of April. And it is Pim Bolkstein. Remember him? Good old Pim. Good old Pimmy. Now, how many games did he play for Town? So I think Liam has no idea who this is because it's before his time. So advantage Chris and Matt. But then also, is it advantage or not? Because
I'm not entirely sure to be.
I don't know how many seasons he was there. Was he 2 seasons?
I'll give you a clue in terms. So he was here for 2 seasons, but technically 1.5 seasons because he went out on loan for the second.
Is this League and Cup?
Yes, all competitions. All competitions. So yeah, he signed in 2008, and then he went out on loan to Brentford.
Going to ask what year that was.
Yeah, 2008 to 2010.
I'm having an absolute guess. I'm having an absolute guess at this, and I'm going 30.
30. Okay. So yeah, closest to the correct answer gets the win.
Idea.
I've gone 33.
Okay.
I'm gonna put a random guess at 25.
Okay. Well, someone is spot on, and that man is Chris Peachy. It's 33.
What a guess.
Fantastic.
Well done,
what a guess.
That is fantastic.
Great work, Chris. Great work.
Go.
I'm impressed. I guessed within 3, to be honest. I'm just happy with that, to be fair.
That's something to put on the CV.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Definitely.
There we go.
Speech, my friend. What you got to say for winning this week's strike?
Well, it's probably one of the greatest moments of my life. Probably just below my wedding day.
Yeah.
Which I celebrate anniversary tomorrow, 6 years. So, but this is definitely up there with that day. So, obviously, I'd like to thank my friends and family for supporting me through all this. And yeah, proud moment in my life.
Definitely. It's everyone's proud moment when they compete in the strike, but then winning the strike. Whew, what a moment that is. But I hope you've enjoyed listening at home this week's strike. Let us know how you got on. Hopefully you did play at home. But Liam, Matt, thanks for taking part. A good attempt from both of you. Definitely Liam, who is pretty much always at a disadvantage because of his not many years of supporting the club, but always good to have you taking part, Liam, as always. Now, on to some more serious stuff. Well, somewhat, because it's a dead as the rubbers this weekend. But before we get into having a look at Charlton, what we'd like to see, let's talk about our best and worst home games of the season. There's been some bleak moments at Portland Road this year, but it's also been some good moments because it's been a season where we've been able to be back in the ground as well. Like the Morecambe game, and of course also the pre-season games. It was a fantastic moment being back at the stadium after the COVID season, the lockdowns, I Follow campaign. That day at Portland Road's opening day was fantastic. But Chris, over to you. Your best and your worst home game of the season supporting Town.
Okay, well, basically, I've done my choices over teams that have mainly done, without swearing, poo housery, we'll say. Yeah. And also, like my best game, I'll come at how I feel coming up, putting everything in a year, and my worst, like, annoyed. I'll do my worst game, if that's okay, first.
Yeah.
There was a few up there, but actually the one that stuck out for me, and I come out the ground so peed off, was Oxford at home, 0-0. It was just their constant cheating. Cheating, just diving, poo housery, embarrassing. I remember there was one moment in injury time where the ball come in and Bond literally just taps their keeper. He falls straight to the ground, clutching whatever part he thinks he's got hurt. But I remember leaving that game and I was just so angry all the way home, getting back to Newmarket. I was just, didn't say a word in the car, just sat in front of the TV all afternoon, all evening, didn't speak at all. I was so peed off. My best home game of the season was actually, because there's been a few, obviously Donny, Fleetwood last minute winner, but it was Accrington Stanley for me. Because again, they came down, they started falling over, cheating. They went 1-0 down. They were winding the clock down. Sorry, we went 1-0 down. They were winding the clock down. They were falling over. I mean, their midfielder, Sullivan, he spent more time laying on the pitch than he did actually on his feet. And to come out of there and beat them 2-1 was like a massive sort of finger saying, up yours. The football team won today, not the women. How can I put it? Well, I wouldn't call it a rugby team actually, because rugby's an honest sport. But yeah, they were my favourite games. I say because like Oxford, I come out the most angry, and Acton, I come out the most. Yet have that.
What great choices, very good choices indeed. And yeah, the Oxford game. Oh, and of course it was boring Oxford. That was the chant because
every time just touch them, they were. I'd say they didn't know what part of their body to because is it my arm this time? My leg? Oh, I'll just hold everything and see how I get on.
Yeah.
Hate it. Sorry.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Of course, it made it worse when we then bloody conceded a last-minute equaliser against them at the Kassam. It was just sort of broke it pretty
Still
much.
not over it, Ross. Let's not
Yeah,
talk
but
about it. Still not over
they
it.
were doing that there as well.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't as bad as a home game.
No,
No, it wasn't. But they were still falling over.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. But old wounds, we still got old wounds from that because that pretty much killed our season. But yeah, anyway, enough of that. Matt, best and worst home games this season. There's been a few at home, definitely.
Yeah.
I'll let you take away.
Yeah, I mean, definitely that Oxford at home game was the first one that came to mind for me. It was just so. But in fact, again, going back to the 7-a-side group I play with, one of them's an Oxford fan, and he actually apologised to me afterwards. Funny enough, he apologised to me after the game at Kassam as well. Doesn't make it nice, actually. I'll just be horrible about it. No, don't be nice. Don't be honest about it. Yeah, that one. Pompey at home as well, similar vein. That was horrible, and that flashpoint with Thompson and Cowley on the touchline was just again poo-housery. You know, it was very much that they didn't want to play football that day. But really, it's got to be Bolton at home for me. That was just bloody awful, really. And it was very much almost started to deflate me. You know, we come in, we got back in the ground after COVID. You know, we've got the change in ownership with all these signings come in. And you think, this is great, and we don't have the great start. And then it was part of that sort of that stop-start momentum that we had under Paul Cook towards the end of his time here. And yeah, it was just terrible because we just absolutely got schooled, really. I think particularly in that second half, and I was embarrassing. You know, normally coming out of the Churchmans, you know, sometimes you get a bit of stick of the away fans coming out of the turnstiles, and you give a bit back. Generally, I just head down and straight on because I was just that bloody embarrassed. I had nothing to come back to on that. Best one again, Burton at home in February. That was good. That was a nice kind of assured, controlled performance. But Donny for me, Donny was just fun. And it was just bonkers because you forget, actually, it really all kind of kicked off in the second half. It was all really, the madness was particularly condensed to the second 45 minutes. And it was under the lights, you know, and there's that great picture of Macaulay Bond celebrating, you know, that was the lock screen background on my phone for a good month after that game. And that was, even though it kind of, again, it kind of meant we were still having that stuttering sort of form, but there was just something. I always think back to that Sunderland game, the penultimate season before we got relegated. Sunderland got relegated from the Championship when we beat them 5-2 under the lights. And again, there's just when you get an odd, crazy scoreline at a night match, for me, there's just a special magic about that. That if we'd beaten them 6-0 at 3 p.m. on a Saturday, it's still been great, but it's just something about it being under the lights for me. So it's got favourite one has got to be Donny. Just take it in isolation from the rest of the season. It was a fun old evening. Sort of sat there on the bus on the way home, going, "Did that really just happen?" You know, it was very, very, very weird, but good.
Yes, it was, and it's great. Always great to see a player score a hat trick, and Lee Evans. What a knee slide! That was right in front of me as well. It was just beautiful, and
then Paul Cook told him being too far up the pitch. And you look back on that in hindsight, and that might have started to be the problem about the rigidity of the Paul Cook system.
Yeah, A little bit. That is probably the only highlight under Paul Cook is that game. Maybe one or two other games, maybe, but yeah,
Probably the only one at home. The other
yeah.
big ones were away, weren't they?
They were pretty much. And Liam, technically, our home form has been pretty decent. If you really look at it this season, I've just looked now. A lot of draws in there, I have to say. We're not. This is minus the FA Cup games and the other cup games, but we've won 10, drawn 9, and only lost 3, so it's not too shabby. But what is your best and worst home games this season?
Well, I mean, the Oxford one is an honourable mention because it was just it wasn't very good, was it? Just a lot of gamesmanship from them, and as Matt says, the Bolton game was a bit of an absolute annihilation. I would probably put Rotherham in there as well because there was nothing in that game, absolutely nothing from Town in a forward capacity. We were so out of our depth against Rotherham that night. And they only won 2-0, but they didn't have to do anything to win 2-0. But two of mine, for different reasons. One is the FA Cup game against Oldham, which was just a horrible day. It was such a poor game. There was less than 10,000 in the crowd, so it was like being in a morgue. And of course, season ticket holders decided they wouldn't turn up for that game, and so you get people sitting in different areas that they probably wouldn't normally sit in. And I decided to go in my own seat, and I took Paul with me, and we were basically surrounded by a load of teenagers who were basically just kicking over Coke bottles and making everywhere all sticky. So with the football being terrible and then having that around us, it was just a pretty just awful day. But the game I would say for me is Cheltenham at home with the 0-0, because we played so well for 45 minutes and absolutely battered them, and we came away with just a single point. And for me, it's just that feeling coming out of the ground afterwards. That for me was when it kind of, you just felt it's not going to happen. Had to win that game, and we were so much better than them, and we ended up running out of steam. And that's basically been the way our season's been. We have moments where we flex our muscles, and then we just run out of steam, and we throw away points in games that we probably shouldn't have. But going on to the best ones, well, it's got to be out of 2, hasn't it? As Matt says, Donny was just fun. First time I've ever seen 6 scored in a single game, so that was fun. But I mean, you can't take away the Fleetwood game, can you? You just cannot be a last minute winner. 6 goals is brilliant, but the euphoria, the absolute buzz you get from a last minute winner, and obviously Brett Johnson being in attendance that day as well, the whole build up to it absolutely exploded when Selena hit the back of the net in that game. So yeah, for me, I'm going to say Fleetwood, just to be a bit different, although both were as good as each other.
Definitely, yeah. I think a season always has to have a late winner in it. I think if you don't have a late winner, you're just disappointed. The season's been a disappointment. And of course, this season has been disappointing because we're finishing 11th, 10th, whatever it's going to be. But you always want a late winner. There we go then. Best and worst home games of the season. Portland Road is going to be a fortress again next season because the amount of season tickets we're selling. There's going to be 25 plus this Saturday for a deadest of dead rubbers against Cheltenham, which is just madness. Let's talk about it briefly because, well, it's nothing to play for, but it's the final time I'm going to be at Portland Road for a little while until pre-season. But Chris, are you looking forward to it? It's going to be another lovely day, but it's going to be one of those days where what could have been, but it is what it is. Hopefully on to next season.
Yeah, I think at the start of the season, we all look at this game sort of like, could this be the day we perhaps clinch promotion? We might have already got promotion, or playoffs, but unfortunately, it hasn't ended up like that. I think Saturday's either going one or two ways. It's going to be a bit of a boring pre-season feel to it, or like end of season, end of term sort of game where we like 1-1, 0-0. But obviously, we'd all love a win. But I'd just love us to go out there and put on a real show. Like players, this is us. This is what we're going to be doing next season. 3 or 4-0. I'm not asking for much. But I'd like to see perhaps a couple of youngsters on the bench again, like Cameron Humphreys and Tawanda Chirera. I hope I said that right. But we'd like to see them.
Me, mate.
Yeah, but hopefully, yeah. All I want is it's a big crowd as well, and like if we win that game, people who've been coming here and then might think, oh, I might get a season ticket next year now, or I'll come back more. But like, admittedly, the crowds have been brilliant since Well, I think it's been brilliant all season, but since McKenna, I think every home game there's been at least 20,000 Ipswich fans there. That just shows that's how big a club we are and the fan base we've got. So I say I'm hoping for a win, just a good performance. I don't want these like lackluster games. I'm sat there looking at watch going, only 10 minutes left, 5 minutes left. Yeah. I'm ready for them. But yeah, just go out on a win. That's all I want. Please.
Yeah, please. Pretty
please.
Pretty please. But no, it's gonna be a weird occasion, Matt, because it's gonna be 25,000 fans there. I'm actually got a nice little plug here. My sister's taken my 9-year-old niece. This will be her third game, but I got her some tickets. And it's just inspiring the next generation of town fans coming to the game. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of just new fans just going to the final game of the season. Nothing to play for, but looking forward to the future. What are you wanting to see on the final day of the season? Sadly, for the first straight season in League One, there's nothing to play for, but hopefully a lot of positivity, over the hill.
It's the big 11th v 12th tie, isn't it? Oh, no, fixture. It's not a tie. It's not a cup competition. It's a fixture. I hadn't actually realised just quite how far. I knew Charlton behind us, but in 12th, but I hadn't realised the points gap. Even if they win, we're still going to finish like 11th. I'm the same as Chris. I'd like to see us go out on a bang. I went to the under-18s game last night, actually, and Chirera, he was very good. He scored 2 goals. He scored a penalty that he Panenkered. In 12 minutes in, we won a penalty. Cov player got sent off, and it absolutely just floated it. The keeper went the wrong way as well. It floated it, and you thought, just get him a wheelbarrow to get a certain part of his anatomy back off the pitch afterwards. That was phenomenal. Sadly, we then won another penalty not so long later, and I think he got into his own head after the first one. Nico Valentine followed it up. But yeah, there was a few good young players there last night. I'd like to see them, so at least, even if they don't get on the pitch, if they're in and around the squad for the last day, I think certainly haven't come off the back of winning the PDL Cup last night. That's a good bit of experience for them. There's not much else to say about it. I mean, one thing I want to see is sell out Turnstile Blues. There we go. Second plug. No, but all joking aside, it just a nice day out. Another good atmosphere. I think Chris hit the nail on the head there. The fact that the crowds are coming back and more and more and more, and the fact that we've got 25,000 in for the deadest of dead rubbers is nothing short from them. There's a real kind of feel-good factor around it, despite it's been disappointing on the pitch again, and we're going to be down at this level for another season. It kind of feels off the pitch things are going right, and we've had just over a year now of Game Changer, and I really there's more of a buzz around the club now, and despite sort of the season has petered out a little bit, it feels like we're going into something big next season, and I don't think it's a false dawn this time. I think we've kind of got all the right sort of pieces in place now, and it feels very similar to the sort of the mid to late 90s, which was sort of my childhood growing up. When we had everything in place off the pitch and on the pitch with Sheepshanks and Burley and Roberts and everything, and that we were building to something over that time. It feels like we're building to something now. The big unknown is exactly what happens in the summer with transfer policy and everything. But yeah, if we can get another good day out, hopefully the weather will be nice, big crowd, decent performance. We really should just be playing with the brakes off at this point. We can go on to 70 points, finish the season. Yeah, we're going to finish actually lower than we did last season, but I feel better about it than I did this time last season. And to be fair, we're still going to finish. This is a bonkers division this season. I'm looking at the table now, and potentially 82 points is not going to be enough to get you in top 6. that is bonkers. I mean, Plymouth Argyle are sitting there on 80 at the moment. We're ahead of Wickham on goal difference, and like I say, one of them wins, and it's 83 points for 6th place. It's just mad. So hopefully it's not going to. I think if you go and look back through all sort of like the 3rd tier tables for the last 10 years, I suspect this is probably sort of a higher than average points total to get into the top 6. Hopefully, we'll see a little bit more normality. But yeah, just a grand day out. Hopefully the sun will be out. Enjoy it. Sort of build up and ready for those big crowds being the norm again next season when all these season tickets we're selling.
Indeed, and yeah, it's gonna be a bonkers League One next season, I feel, as well, because you've got other, you've got Barnsley, Derby, Peterborough coming down. There's other teams going to be strengthening, but
Derby's the massive unknown because we don't know what's happening with their ownership structure, and it's going to be. I mean, their rebuild is going to make our rebuild last summer look like kind of a little bit of a minor shuffle, isn't it? And there's that unknown as well. Yeah, and obviously you've got Forest Green Rovers coming up, Exeter coming up as well. It's going to be. I've got a feeling. I'm going to say it. I think it could be an exciting season. I'm hoping it's exciting for the right reasons, but yeah. It's going to be. It's not going to be boring. Put it that way.
No, it's definitely never boring as an Ipswich Town fan. And Liam, over to you then, my friend. You've been lurking in the shadows. If you've been watching on video, I've just been watching your light go in and out. But doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's all about the voice. But how are you feeling going to the final game of the season? Nothing to play for. Players on the beach and all that sort of stuff. All the cliches. But hopefully we finish the season on a high.
I'm just looking forward more to McCurry, I think. I'm hoping to see a good end to the season, but whatever will be. I want to be excited and hopefully say it's going to be an exciting end. But I was sat in the away end at Crewe on Saturday and it was drab. So a lot of it, I just don't know if I can see anything different for the Charlton game. But there's nothing riding on it. I said this about the Crewe game, that it was disappointing because you've got players in there who are potentially playing for contracts, and it just didn't look like they just didn't look like they were that bothered. Some of them, which is a surprise because some of them are in that unknown for next season. So, but hey, it's another dead rubber. Great crowd again, and I'm sure we'll get a good appreciation, give a good appreciation to the players at the end of the game, and just look forward to the summer. And as everyone has said, look forward to next season because, like Matt, I think we've got to be excited about what's going on next season. Just because I think we need to see that this is I think it's been a bigger rebuild job than I think a lot of people thought. I think a lot of people thought when we bought so many players last season that it was going to be we were going to be straightforward, not straightforward, but we were going to be up there, and it was going to be great week in, week out. And it's actually been more of a struggle, I think, than a lot of people have actually expected. But going into next season, we don't need major surgery as we did in the summer. We just need some fine tuning with extra players in certain positions that will add a bit of extra quality. And then we'll look a lot better balanced side next season. So I'm excited for next season. It's just going to be weird on Saturday because for the 3 seasons we've been down in League One, this is the first season that we will have completed a season with us sitting there in the last game of the season. First one we got cut off in March, and second one, we weren't allowed in stadiums at all season. So it'll feel a bit strange, but we're actually completing a League One season with people in the ground. So, but yeah, if we can get a nice 3 or 4-0 win, as Peachy says, then that would be lovely. But whatever happens, it's all about next season now.
Indeed.
I mean, that's a sorry to interject. I think that's a really key point. Whatever's happened this season, the fact that we've been able to be in there for 23 home games this season, looking at it, the bigger picture, that's just been brilliant, really, for this season. We'll remember that the season so we were able to get back in the ground. I despite the results on the pitch, I think we all missed it and the rituals we all have on game day.
I agree.
Yeah, I think it's like Chris, you've been involved now with game day and the fan social. I'm sure that's just part of your game day, ritual as well. But it's just been fantastic once again, just being back at games away. We'll do a big season review talking about the low points, but there's been so many high points in terms of us being back at home games, back at away games. It's just been a fantastic season in terms of that side of things.
I agree. I think also is looking at the bigger picture as well. Like during the I call it the iFollow season. I'd sit at home watching it. I started watching it downstairs through the TV on my laptop then because I was swearing too much to shout, and I moved upstairs. And obviously when we were losing, when me and my dad drive home and my wife drive home, Lauren's quite quiet. But if we had a bad game, me and my dad are ranting at each other. But after I follow games, I was sort of like in the room just going, okay, who can I? But the big thing for me was just being back. That first game of the season, because a lot of my friends are from Ipswich. Because I used to see him on Zoom, but actually seeing him at games, going to the pub, pre-match rituals, it was just, you realise how much you missed it. And obviously making new friends this season with you fine people as well. It's a big part of life, in my opinion. In my opinion, football's a big part of everyone's life. Sometimes you love football, sometimes you absolutely hate it, but it's always there. If that makes sense. That wasn't.
Yes, mate. That was
100%.
touching. That's touching.
It is.
Yeah.
Marvellous.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a social thing, isn't it? Football. You might have your club, and you 1 week you're absolutely on the high, and then next week you're as low as anything. Football is such a roller coaster, but the most common denominator thing about football is you meet people and you get to create good friends and make up really, really good groups of people. So it's all part of that, and I think we've missed that. And it's all about the day, isn't it? About the going to the pub and mingling and pre and post match, and we missed a lot of that. I suppose the iFollow season, football, we can largely forget most of that. So a lot of us, though, are missing that interaction. So it's been great this season to return to that. And I've been to a number of away games this season, more than I have done any other season. And it's been fantastic. So roll on next season, and hopefully we will be having something to celebrate at this time next year.
Hopefully. Well, it's been another fantastic show, gentlemen. Chris, Matt, Liam, thanks so much for joining me. Any other business? Chris, anything else you'd like to add, my friend?
No, not really. Just everyone enjoyed the game on Saturday. It's going to be a 3-0 win or a boring 0-0.
Yeah, typical town to do that. But there we go. Matt, another plug for TV and any other business?
Yeah, just Mark, obviously, in addition to the final home game of the season, for the men's team, it's the final game of the season away for the women at Portsmouth on Sunday. And so, sadly, they've missed out on the league title this season. Southampton will be going into the play-off against Wolves for a spot in the Championship. But I think, and again, it's something I've touched on my piece in terms of Blues this time round has been sort of a review of the women's team first season in the third tier of women's football. I think the fact that we're guaranteed top 3, we're still in with a shout of top 2. Oxford only managed to draw against Southampton in what sounded like a bit of a barn burner last night. So all we've got to do is match their result to finish second. To do that in the first season, it does feel like a bit of a disappointment because we were top of the table for quite a while, and we were looking good for it at one point. But I think we can be incredibly proud. We're second or third, wherever we finish, So I think hats off to those. I mean, I sadly won't be able to make the drive down to Havant and Waterlooville FC, but hats off. There's been a dedicated crowd, as Ross you'd have known from your own travels. There's a dedicated crowd that have been following that team. Yeah. And despite we playing a regional division, there's been some miles put in this season. So looking forward to being back at the Gold Star next season to cheer on the women as well. So the usual plug for the women's team. If you haven't been down to the Gold Star, obviously next season get yourself down there. It is absolutely worth a visit.
Indeed, and it was lovely to see. And I was told a lot of good things on Tuesday night about the player awards. Both the women's team and the men's team were integrating for the very first time. Really, that was the first time both teams were together.
To see that. It was great. It was great to see Bonnie Hallwood get supporters player of the season. Sadly, I missed the one league game I've missed this season. London Bees was the game they took the vote, but Bonnie would have definitely been getting my vote if I'd been there. She's been absolutely sort of rock solid in the middle of the park there, and the fact that it just, and that's another thing about the feel good for me. The feel good factor at the club is that the men's and women's teams are being treated more and more equally. The fact that we've had that integrated end of season awards dinner, and see Bonnie pick up supporters player, Kyra pick up players player of the season, and Tash picking up the corporate sponsors player of the season. That's absolutely fantastic. So I think they're very much a championship club in waiting, and it's just a shame that the FA haven't expanded sort of the top of the pyramid, and feel for Southampton in a way, just by being disappointed they picked the title, that they could lose the playoff to Wolves and they could still be in the same division as us next season. So there's never been a greater time to look at expanding the women's game. But I have to get off my soapbox now because I've gone on about that for quite some time.
That's fine, mate. Well, we're just hoping Southampton win, so we don't have to play them next year, and then we can hopefully win the title. But we shall see. And if you haven't already, listen to Track the Girls Talk with me, Blue Wilson, and assistant manager Charlie Baxter. A lot of good stuff talking on there. I'll travel boy this year. I'll travel with the men and also the women's team. I've gone up to Newcastle, gone down to Plymouth, done Morecambe, done Cardiff away. It's been a great season, just being able to travel around the country once again. But there we go. Liam, over to you to round off today's podcast. What do you want to say, my friend?
It's just a little plug from me for an event that is going on a week tomorrow. Needham Market ladies have a County Cup final. It's been a great season. Don't you shake your head. It's been a great season. They've been promoted up into the 5th tier now. So that's only 2 tiers below town. And they're in the County Cup final for the first time without Ipswich in it, who have been battering everybody every season, against Sudbury. So it should be a decent game, and hopefully the first time that we can actually win some silverware. So if people are interested, then tickets are only £5, and come down to Colchester and support the ladies next Friday.
I cannot get my head around that the County Cup final has been played in Essex.
It's happened before.
Yeah, well, it's Portman Road. It's Portman Road's work that has done that. And it's probably going to be in Colchester for the next couple of seasons because of all the plans that they've got for Portman Road over the next couple of summers. So otherwise, it probably would have been back at Portman Road. But they're doing work, I think, on the scoreboard, aren't they? So
yes, they are.
Actually, the one, and I think it was on there. I noticed last night the under-18s game. The one in the corner between the Cobbold and the Churchmans has gone in preparation. So. The only scoreboard tomorrow is going to be the one on the front of the North Stand.
It is. Well, Chris, Matt, and Liam have been plugging anything. Do you want to plug anything?
No, not really.
It's fine. It's fine. No, it's fine. That's fine. That's fine. I knew Liam was going to chat the Need a Market plug in there, but it's always, it's a free platform. Say what you want to say. You can plug what you want to plug. In some sort of reason, you can't just like plug random stuff. It's got to be, somewhat related and stuff like that. But no, it's been another great show, gentlemen. Chris Peachy, Matt Makin, and good old Liam from Crew. It's been another great show. Now, my time to do a shambles outro. Not intro. We've already done intro before the show, Ross, you idiot. But yeah, of course, support our sponsors at manscaped.com. Use the code KOA to get 20% off and free delivery, of course. Make sure to subscribe to us on our YouTube channel. Also, follow us on all the social medias, not TikTok, because it's not a young person thing, but on Kings of Anglia and all the other platforms. Of course, follow Chris, Matt, and Liam on Twitter and all that sort of stuff if you fancy hearing more thoughts from them. It's been another great show. Make sure to follow the game with us this weekend with Andy and Stu's pieces, game day, Andy and Stu react, and all the other bits and bobs. So we'll be back next week to do a massive season review of the season that was, what has been the most rollercoaster of a season. But enough of me. See you all later. Thanks again for listening.